Hi, everyone. It's me, Tessa Virtue, and I would like to welcome you to Team Canada Champion Chats, live from the Canadian Olympic Experience in Montreal. Can we just start this afternoon by getting a big, big cheer from everyone in our schools all the way across Canada? Ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I love it. I love it. Thanks, guys. I am so excited to have you all here tuning in and thrilled to be your host for today's chat. For the next 45 minutes, we'll be talking about what it means to be a champion and hearing from our incredible panel of athletes about how they use goal setting, perseverance, and feedback to be successful in both the personal and professional lives. And we're also going to take questions from our Team Canada Champion Chats teachers. So really looking forward to that. We would love to hear how you, the viewers, are enjoying the chat. So don't forget to share with us on social media using the hashtag #BeAChampion. I guess I should introduce myself once again. I'm Tessa Virtue. My notes say 3-time Olympic medalist, but I'm pretty sure it's 5. And I've been a proud representative of Team Canada for over a decade with my skating partner, Scott Moyer, whom some of you may know. I'd like to now pass over to our athletes to introduce themselves. I know that there'll be some familiar faces to many of you who have completed the awesome Team Canada Champion Chats lesson plans, but we'll take a moment to say hi and introduce our excellent Olympic and Paralympic athletes joining us today. Let's start with you, Evan.
Hey everyone, I'm Evan Dunphy, Olympic race walker from Richmond, British Columbia. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm so jealous of all of you because when I was a 9-year-old boy growing up, dreaming of winning the games, I would have failed for an experience like this. So I'm so excited to be here. I'm so jealous. I hope you have so much fun today.
Well, we're sure to have fun. Thanks, Evan. Let's go over to you, Priscilla.
Hey everyone, my name is Priscilla Gagne. I'm a 2016 Paralympian in the sport of judo, and I'm thrilled to be with you guys today. And I also would love to have this opportunity as a kid. So I'm excited for you guys and can't wait to hear your questions.
Great to have you, Priscilla. Thanks for joining us. How about you, Neville?
Hi everyone, Neville right here, 3-time Olympian in the sport of bobsleigh, former sprinter and Edmontonian. I'm really excited and glad to be here with you all as well.
Thanks, Evan. Last but not least, over to you, Josh.
Thanks, Tessa. Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Dewick. I am a 2-time Paralympic athlete, 3-time medalist, and grew up in a really small town called Kimberley, BC. And like the rest of the crew, I've got this sense of joy for you to have this opportunity to dive into some really great questions with all of us athletes.
So true. Thanks, Josh. And a big thank you to all of our athletes for joining us here today. I also want to give a shout out once again to the fantastic Canadian Olympic Experience right here in Montreal that is hosting us. It is such a cool place. I hope you all get to visit someday. And, before we get started on our discussion here, let's check in with one of our schools, Marion Carson School. How you doing over there? Shall we kick things off with Miss Lowe's grade 3 class? I believe you have a question for me.
Hello, Tessa. My name is Jane, and the question that I have today for you is, what was the biggest sacrifice you had to make to become an Olympian?
Good question. A really good question about the biggest sacrifices that I've had to make to become an Olympian. You know, there were many along the way. I think anything worthwhile and anything meaningful and significant to you requires sacrifice. And one of them was moving away from my friends and family, moving away from home when I was just 13 years old. Another was just the regimented training schedule required of pursuing an Olympic sport. I was up at 5 a.m. every day, which meant an early bedtime, and I was saying no to a lot of social activities, unfortunately. But that just meant that I had to be a little more careful about the network of people I surrounded myself with, people who supported me and people who really understood what I was working towards. I think later in life, I missed out on going to school in the regular kind of university sense, and I always felt like that was a sacrifice. But I tried to maintain the sense of goals. So I knew what I was working towards, and suddenly those sacrifices became just simple choices. It was all on this quest to do something extraordinary. And to me, those sacrifices were worthwhile because it led me somewhere that made me realize the joy was really in the hard work. So great question. Thank you so much for that. Today, in general, we're going to be talking about what it means to be a champion. So how you can set goals, persevere, and receive feedback in order to be the best that you can be. And to me, being a champion is just that. It's pushing yourself to the limits, exploring your limitless potential, and trying to do everything to your maximum capacity, whatever that may be. And I think being a champion is rising to the occasion in every facet of your life. So that's school, community, family, friends, sport. It could be also other hobbies like theater or art. And I think, I'm curious to hear what our other athletes have to say about being a champion, because they can certainly speak to that. Evan, do you want to take this one?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tessa. And I think we had some mic issues before, so I'm going to reintroduce myself for those that don't read lips. My name's Evan Dunphy. I'm a Canadian Olympic race walker from Richmond, British Columbia. I'm so excited to be here and chat to you guys. And for me, being a champion means setting really, really big goals in whatever it is you love. For us here today, it was sport, but for you, it might not be sport. It might be teaching, or it might be music, or whatever it is. Just being a champion means setting those really big goals and then chasing after them with all your heart, putting every ounce of energy you have into achieving those goals. And the biggest part about being a champion is that at a certain point, once you've gotten along that journey a little bit and learned these valuable lessons and transformed and grown as a person, being a champion really means turning around and using those skills that you've gained and giving them back to the next generation and paying it forward. I think that's a really big part about being a champion is using your platform to develop by chasing your goals and then turning around and helping others with those skills. So for me, that's very personal what I try to do, and I think I'd speak for a lot of the athletes when we say that's what we really try to do with our voice and our platform, is to give back a little bit and to use our skills to hopefully inspire you guys.
Evan, and you really are inspiring. I think it is so much more about, it's more than just the medals. It's more than the podiums. It's about giving back, as you say, and hopefully inspiring the next generation. In order to be a champion, you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success in every way possible. And the best way to do this is to start by setting a goal. So Neville, this question is for you. Why do you think goals are important? And what is it that you're working towards currently?
So why do I think goals are important, and what goals have I set for myself currently? Goals are important because they provide you with feedback, information, and direction. They act as a blueprint to help you achieve your goals. And just as important as goals are, we have to focus on the process, because it's the process that's going to get us to achieve our goals. And for myself, currently, I'm working on developing myself as a performance therapist and a speaker. And I found that I have to really focus on the process and developing that, learning from my environment and from others to be the best I can be.
I love that you continue to challenge yourself. Neville. I mean, you've conquered so many things already in sport, but it seems you're on to the next thing and you're thriving in that. So good for you. Sometimes, as we all know, sticking with a goal can be really tough. And you might encounter some obstacles along the way that derail your progress. But that's why it's important to persevere and keep pushing yourself in order to overcome these obstacles and stick to your plan. Remember that goal that's always in sight. It might not be a linear path to accomplishment, but you might have to backtrack a little bit and go side to side. I know the perfect person to tell us a little bit more about perseverance, and that's Priscilla. Priscilla, what are some strategies you use in your own life when you encounter obstacles on the road to reaching a goal?
Yes, so being able to persevere through those unexpected changes for me is preparation. So prepare for the unexpected. How do you do that? I'm so glad you asked. I have a plan that when things don't go how I think they're going to go, I change my perspective and I focus on, well, what can I do? Okay, so I broke both of my feet, so I can't train for judo right now, at least not standing up. But what can I do? I can focus on my arms. I can focus on recovery. I can put my mind to work. I can strategize. So it's really focusing on what you can do and have a timeline prepared for when you're going to hopefully be back on track, and surrounding myself with the right people who can push me when I need to be pushed and tell me when I need to rest and tell me encouraging words when I need to hear them. So that's just some of it.
I love the way you reframe that. So the obstacle, in fact, becomes an opportunity for growth and a chance to adapt and figure out a way to get to that end goal in a different way that probably strengthens your overall repertoire of skill set as an athlete, but also as a person. So thank you for sharing that, Priscilla. As we know, being a champion isn't about being perfect. That just simply doesn't exist, right? We're constantly learning and growing so that we can just become the very best versions of ourselves. So a big part of learning and growing is receiving feedback on how we're doing. And this is not always easy. It's important that we are open to receiving it. Let's call it constructive criticism, because it really can be helpful for our growth. This next question is for Josh. How has receiving feedback made you a better athlete?
Tessa, you nailed it. It is definitely not always easy to receive constructive criticism or feedback from your coaches or from your friends and from your peers. One of the things that's really helped me in absorbing this wisdom that's coming our way, because I think it's understanding that the people that are providing this feedback really care about you and they want to see the best for you. So some of it is just getting out of your own way and allowing that to come at you objectively rather than subjectively and taking it too personally, but also finding a common ground to communicate. For example, I've got coaches that I really respect, but we don't always agree on things. So we found a way to develop our relationship so that when that feedback's coming, I can take it, I can feel it, I can process it, and then decide how I want to move forward with it. And we heard Priscilla talk a little bit earlier about perspectives as well. And if we don't have multiple perspectives on what we're trying to achieve and our goals, then sometimes we can get lost in it. And I'll give you a quick little example. From the sport of ski racing, it's really hard to determine what feels good and what's actually fast. And quite often, I feel good and I'm slow. And then the opposite, quite often I feel really uncomfortable on the racetrack and it's actually really fast. So my perception is not always accurate to what the truth is. So sometimes, even though it's not easy to receive feedback, it's important that we keep an open mind and an open heart to the perspectives that are coming to us. And again, first and foremost, it's developing trust in that relationship with the person that you're allowing to provide you that critical feedback.
Such a good answer. Who would have thought there would be such similarities between ice dance and torpedoing down a mountain at great speed? But we often, when we felt our best on the ice, it wasn't always perceived as being our best. So I do think it's important to remember the voices you're listening to and who you're asking feedback from, and also that most likely they want you to succeed. They want to bolster your self-confidence and your ability to be competent in a certain field. So it is important to be coachable, to be open to that in order for us to learn. I love that. I think it's time. Maybe we should check in with some of our schools again and hear some of their questions. We're going to head to Bear Creek Elementary out in Surrey, BC, and they have a question for Priscilla. Hi, guys.
Hi, Priscilla. My name is. What do you hope kids watching you learn from your journey? What did it feel like when you were chosen to represent Canada at the Paralympic Games?
Great. So the question for Priscilla was, what did it feel when you were chosen to represent Canada at the Paralympic Games, and what do you hope kids watching you learn from your journey?
To represent Canada at the Paralympic Games, it was monumental for me on multiple levels. The first being because I was always told no as a child with a disability, that I could not join any sports teams or even participate in gym class with the other kids. So to be able to represent Canada, my nation, at the Paralympics was so meaningful for me as a childhood dream. It also was very honoring and a great sense of responsibility, because it's not all about me. And it's actually hoping to inspire and encourage young people like yourselves to keep working past the impossibilities or the seemingly impossible, and to keep dreaming big and keep believing no matter how it looks. And that's what I hope that you guys take with you. And the message I hope I leave with you is, it's never too late. Never give up. Never listen to no, it's impossible. Set your own limits. Don't let adults or your friends put limits on you and what you can reach and what you can achieve in your heart. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be really thinking about that for the rest of today, and I'm sure that you've inspired many, because you've certainly inspired me. Great question. Thank you so much. We have one more for Neville. Take it away.
Hi, Neville. I'm Carmen. My question for you is, how do you deal with nerves, pressure, and expectations that come with being an Olympian?
How do you deal with nerves, pressure, expectations that come with being an Olympian? I realize that, as individuals, as humans, we all experience these emotions, nerves, pressure. The biggest thing I find is that you need to embrace it and live in the moment to overcome and keep pushing forward. For myself, one of the things that I would always do when I compete is that I would trust in myself, trust in the process, and believe that I have the abilities, the skills, the talent to achieve. And one thing I used to do with one of my teammates is we'd always say, we don't try, we do. So we don't try and do anything different. We just stick to what we know, what we've practiced, what we're trained at, and execute.
Love that. Trust yourself and trust the process. That is incredibly powerful. Thank you, Bear Creek Elementary, for those awesome questions. We're going to head all the way over to Ontario now, my home province, to hear from Miss Seyo's class in New Liskeard. The question is for Josh.
Hi, Josh. Can you describe your goal setting routine? When you set your sights on a goal, does the goal always stay the same, or does it sometimes change again or small?
That's a great question. Oh, wow. So how do I describe my goal setting routine? It comes in a lot of different ways. For example, there's the cliche saying, it's about the process and not the outcome. And so if we take a step back from that, I look at goals in two ways, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative. That's the quality of the experience. How does that make me feel? How does that make others around me that are part of that experience with me, how does that make them feel? Does it elevate them, or is it even keel, or does it do something else? Quantitative is very easy. It's a measurement. How fast do I want to go? What position would I like to be in? And I have to always hold these two in balance. The process is very important. The outcome in some people's minds is important, and for sure in a sport where we're measured, we definitely want to achieve certain successes. But I just want to flip this one on its head for a second too, because we want to talk about how do we adjust and accommodate to our goals, and do they shift over time? If we look back at my story, once upon a time I was a freestyle skier, and I wanted to be just like Jean-Luc Brassard, the great Olympic mogul skier from Quebec, and not only Olympic skier but Olympic champion. And my dreams were set on that, and I always wanted to be an Olympic skier. When I was 23, I sustained a spinal cord injury that left me paralyzed from the waist down. And if I was so fixed on that goal to be the best Olympic skier ever, perhaps I would have never taken up skiing again, and who knows where my life would have gone. Rather, I just shifted that goal a little bit and said, hey, I want to be a skier, and I want to do that for Canada. And so then I just reorientated the ship just a little bit. That allowed me to get back on the path and pursue a new goal. And for anybody who knows skiing, there is a fair cultural difference between alpine and freestyle, but then having an opportunity to participate in both, I saw the similarities, the opportunities. I took what I once knew from that previous pathway and reapplied it. And I'm so fortunate to have had that experience with goal setting and how they can shift. And we need to listen as much as we need to drive.
Josh, throughout that experience for you, did you ever consider giving up or never returning to the ski hill?
Tessa, that's a great follow-up question. No, I didn't. And it was the wisdom of the doctor in the emergency room right after I had broken my back, literally hours after I had broken my back. And he gave me this. He says, Josh, you're going to rock the world from a wheelchair, and before you know it, we're going to have you back in the mountains, riding a sit ski with all your friends. And I've mentioned a few times that it was so important for me to be a part of community, I love the outdoors. I love playing outside. And then sport has been a large part of my identity. So no, actually, I never lost that. I didn't know I would be competitive in it. I thought I would just be a recreational skier. But we live with great fortune being Canadians and having all of these incredible opportunities for athletes of all walks of life.
Well, you did indeed rock the world. This next question is for Evan.
Hi, Evan. How are you? And this is our question. Sometimes when faced with a challenge or a new experience, a person may feel overwhelmed or choose to not continue in genuine fear.
Do you have advice on how to face challenges or mistakes in order to push through and accomplish your goals?
Awesome, thanks for that. So the question is asking my advice on how I face challenges and how I take those challenges and push through and really continue to work towards and accomplishing my goals. And challenges are something that everyone faces, and Neville and Priscilla and Josh have all talked about it already, about goals being about the process and not about the outcome. My challenges are very different. My challenges in my sporting career have been very different from, say, the challenges Josh's face. I wasn't lying in a hospital bed with a broken back, being told that I was going to ski again by the doctors. My challenge was standing on the sidelines of the 2012 Olympic Games, crying, watching my teammates compete because I wasn't competing, and that was what I had dreamed of doing. And seeing them accomplish that goal was just so inspiring to me that I, was sad I wasn't a part of it. And I think all of our challenges have in common is that the journey isn't linear. We don't follow this straight line path from where we are today to where we want to go. In any pursuit of a goal, there's going to be ups and downs. And for me personally, I view my challenges as just an opportunity to really reconfirm how much I want that goal. I look at a challenge and I'll take a step back and I'll say, okay, what was that challenge? What was that stumbling block? do I really still love this? Do I really still want to achieve these goals? You know, I have really big goals. I want to win Olympic gold medals and break world records. And so I'll ask myself, is this still what I really, really want to do? And, you know, 100% of the time so far, the answer has been yes. So then I look and say, okay, well, how can I, what can I do today to get back on track? What can I do tomorrow to get back on track? And it's really about just asking yourself every day, okay, how can I work towards that goal today? And some days you'll take a step back, but as long as you're consistently working towards that goal, you'll get back on the right track and you'll get back towards achieving those goals. And those challenges are little blips, but they definitely make us stronger along the way as well. And the last thing I would say to that is that all the stuff that I've learned through sport, which is so much, has been learned through those challenges, through facing that adversity and coming out the other end. That's where we really learn the most. So, face those challenges head on and really embrace them.
Thank you, Evan. I think it's great to hear your perspective on how that setback in 2012 led you to forge ahead and dream even bigger and set your sights higher. I think there was the word fear mentioned in there and something about facing them. And I remember one of the things that my sports psychologist taught me, it's an acronym for fear, FEAR, face everything and rise. And I use that as a mantra often when I took the ice and I was feeling fearful, because everyone gets scared and everyone feels stressed and feels the pressure. And it's frightening sometimes. But that notion of facing everything and rising really was helpful to me. Maybe it will help you too. So thanks to Ms. Seo's class for those questions. So thoughtful, really intuitive. Thank you for those. We also have some questions that have been submitted by teachers through the teacher dashboard. So let's take one of those now. And this one is for Josh. What do you do to feel 100% ready for a competition?
I don't know if there's anything like 100% confident. I don't know if that's possible to be 100% confident. What I can say, and I bet the teachers are going to like the answers for this one, is we need to do our homework. We need to come into any challenge prepared for it. Competition is really like one of the ultimate tests. It's a moment where you are exposed to the world, your community, your class, your friends, and everything that you've done to prepare for that is going to be shared with those that are around you, those that are bearing witness to that experience for you. And if I was to let you into that experience at the Paralympics for myself, you're in the start and there's so much energy, there's so much hype. And I wish I had that advice from Tessa about managing fear, because that's a great one. Your mind is moving quickly, and you're at least for me, in my natural state, there was going to be moments of self-doubt. Am I good enough? Do I deserve this? Have I done all the work? And what was really helpful for me in those moments of intense pressure was to go through the list of, yeah, I am worthy and I do deserve this and I have done my homework. So by homework for me is like, did I put in the volume of training that I needed to? Did I listen to my coaches and follow that direction? Did I honor the pathway? And if I have, that means all of those things just fall away, and it gives you this really unique opportunity to surrender to the moment. And it's no longer about the outcome. It's almost like the competition itself becomes the reward for all the effort. And we've heard Tessa and all the other athletes talk about the joy really is in the journey, and the outcome will, to a degree, resolve itself. And when I say that, I mean, like, you still have to put in a good effort and show up and be present, but it's just so key to do the work beforehand in order to feel prepared for the moment. Because when that moment presents itself, and it's a beautiful experience, and I hope you all have a chance to have that at some point in your life, whether it's recreational or arts or whatever it might be, but like, put in the work. And as my dad once told me, the reward is intrinsic to the effort. If you put in a great effort, then you'll have nothing to worry about when it comes time to shine.
Well said by your dad, and thank you for sharing that. As I'm listening to that answer, I'm struck by the fact that when faced with pressure, and stress, isn't it interesting as humans that we question our worth, or we question whether we deserve to be there? I think that's only natural, but to combat that with some assurances and reminders of the preparation we've done and of our competency levels, of our skills, and of the people who are supporting us, that can be incredibly helpful in those moments of doubt. Sometimes you just need to quiet the noise. Your brain wants to ask questions, and sometimes you just need to give it an answer. So thank you so much. We're going to go back west to Calgary to Marian Carson School again to hear their second question. And this one's for Neville.
Go ahead.
Hi, Neville. I'm Lila. We've been learning about what it means to be a good citizen. How does being an Olympic athlete inspire you to help your community?
Being an Olympic athlete has actually provided me the opportunity and the platform to be able to engage and speak with others. I was growing up, I was that kid that, went through personal struggles, had financial hardships, dealt with bullying, dealt with issues with confidence. And through that process, I was able to develop, learn, grow, and become more resilient and stronger. And now it's given me the opportunity to be able to speak to youth such as you, to be able to encourage you and to let you know that you can overcome anything and you can beat the odds. I was that one child as well that, struggled with, for example, with a speech impediment, and I couldn't articulate myself properly. And refusing to give up, I taught myself and learned how to speak properly so I could actually engage with others. So I'm able to now be able to reach out to others and really encourage them and let them know that you can achieve anything, believe in yourself, work hard, and never give up on yourself.
Thank you, Neville. And thank you to Marian Carson School. I hope you hear that. You never give up on yourself, because you are capable of anything you want to do. All of you are watching this. All of you are tuning in. So thank you to the grade 3 class for those questions. We truly appreciate it. I think we have time for a couple more questions. We have a few more that have been submitted by teachers using the teacher dashboard. So this first question is from Ms. Boulanger's class at École Rochester in Coquitlam, BC. Evan and Priscilla, we're coming over to you. And I'm going to ask, what inspired you to take up your respective sports? Priscilla, shall we?
Sure. So for me, I love combat and vision impaired, so can't really block a kick or a punch in karate, so that left me with wrestling, but wrestling wasn't in the Paralympics. Thus, I became a judo player and fell hard in love with it.
Yeah, growing up, I was the shortest kid in the class. I have the red curly hair, and I had these big, thick glasses. And, I was kind of that quintessential kid who was picked on and bullied a little bit in school. And I loved sports so much. And for me, sport was going to be the thing that I was going to prove to everyone else that I could be the best at something. I was going to, just whatever it was, I was going to do something. And when I was 9 years old, I wrote on my grade 3, what do you want to be when you grow up assignment? I wrote, I want to go to the Olympic Games. I remember my teacher was kind of like, oh, it's really nice. Like, you want to add something else in there? And I was like, nope, Olympics. That's what I'm going to do. And I didn't know necessarily what that sport was going to be. And, unlike Priscilla, I wasn't, great at combat. So I chose to run away instead. I learned how to, I found out that I was really good at running for long periods of time without stopping. And unlike all the ball sports, I wasn't getting hit in the face and I wasn't breaking my glasses. So it was really fun to do that and succeed at something. And I kind of fell into this race walking thing by complete accident. But after my first race, my coach, who's still my coach today, 20 years later, he's still my coach, sort of saw that I had some fun doing this race walking race, and I had won the race, and he asked me if I wanted to keep doing it. And yeah, I said, yeah, I want to be good at something. And I won this race. So let's keep trying to do this. And that was really my motivation when I first started. Was just I wanted to find the thing that I could make my own and really come into my own in. And I'm so grateful for that kind of serendipitous opportunity to just try this thing out and see where it's taken my life. And I'm so grateful.
That collaboration and partnership with your coach over such an extended period of time, I'm sure that longevity would add to your success, but also your comfort level in knowing that you have someone in your corner constantly who is pushing you to be the best, but also doing so with a full understanding of how you operate, what motivates you, what makes you tick, what inspires you. And I'm sure that is a really significant and meaningful relationship in your life. Josh, I'm curious. We have students from ages 6 to 13 tuning in here today, and I wonder, what might 10-year-old Josh have benefited from knowing? What do you wish you could go back and tell your younger self?
Oh, that is such a good question, Tessa. Give me a moment. What would 10-year-old self benefit from this? Be kind and be gentle, not only with one another, but with yourself. I remember, not too different than Evan, I struggled to fit in. And because of that, I really believed what the naysayers and the bullies were saying about me. And I actually allowed that to become my identity. And I believed the mean things that they said to me. And from there, I kind of allowed myself to believe that I wasn't worthy and I wasn't good enough. And I let those voices develop my insecurities. What I'm learning here today is that we're so much more than that. And I would take from today and encourage you to take from today as well, that it's so important, and we're hearing it from all of the athletes, to find what you're passionate about, find what you care about, find what makes your heart sing and dance, and put all of your energy and all of your force into that, and in a way that makes the world around you better. And I'll leave you with this. If we can live a life where we give more than we take, then that's a life well lived. And if we can do that while having a whole lot of fun, well, that's going to elevate everybody else around us.
Thank you for sharing that, Josh. I think it gives us a lot to think about. And so often this message has become today about the sense of sharing. It can be isolating often when you're in pursuit of something. I think it can ostracize you and you can feel alone sometimes. But remembering that it's bigger than just you, and you have an ability to create a certain environment around you to lift others up, to boost someone else's self-esteem, to create a team reliant on one another. I think that can really serve us and add to our sense of self-worth. Thank you. This next question comes from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Miss Sutherland's class at St. Thomas Aquinas School, and they have a question for me. And they're asking, do you have a ritual that you do before you figure skate for that extra good luck element that helps you mentally? How long do we have here? Because I used to be very superstitious, but Scott and I, my skating partner, and I had many, many rituals to ensure that we were on the same page. We were a team of 2, and we skated together for 22 years, so we knew each other really, really well. But in order to be our best on the ice, we needed to be completely in sync and in unison. So one of the things we like to do was synchronize our breathing. So we would hug and breathe at the same time. We joked that we wanted our hearts to beat at the same time. We wanted to be blinking at the same time. But I found that really reassuring, really comforting. Another thing that we did together, before taking the ice, we would talk about the preparation we had done. And we would utilize these keywords, these reminders of all of the training we did leading up to that one moment that reminded us we're ready, we're unstoppable, we can take on this challenge because we've prepared for it. And Evan spoke about preparation so eloquently. I think that is key to confidence. And finally, we would just squeeze each other's hands. We would look at each other, and often there was a wink involved, and we would just say, I'm with you. There was something really powerful about not feeling alone. And that served us really well in those pressure-filled situations when we were trying to represent Canada to the best of our ability. But those were my few little rituals. For a while, I had some where with my guards at the boards and water bottle and everything, and I tried to ditch that because it needed to be about what I was doing on the ice. So thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. To all of our athletes and listeners, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, which we want to hear more of, by the way. To the athletes, Evan, Priscilla, Neville, and Josh, I'm so inspired and invigorated by these chats. I think there are so many takeaways that we can all carry into our everyday lives about what it means to really be a champion, and valuable lessons in goal setting, perseverance, receiving feedback, and how we can open ourselves up to take that leap to be the best versions of ourselves. As we say goodbye, I would like to let this chat percolate, let it digest, and I would like to challenge you. I would like to ask you to think about what the attitude of a champion really means. And I would like to challenge you to encourage those around you, your peers, your colleagues, to be champions as well. And maybe the teachers can share with us, you can have a class discussion and use that social media hashtag, be a champion, and let us know what you think. How can we lift others up around us, and how can we step into this next chapter, whatever it may be, and really own that attitude of being a champion? How do we equip ourselves with the tools to live our best lives and encourage others to do the same? So remember that the fun doesn't end here, although this was so much fun. We will have more incredible lesson plans coming to gear us up for the next champion chat happening in May. So stay tuned to the Team Canada Champion Chat's excitement. And I would like to say a heartfelt thank you to our athletes. We're all going to sign off and wish you an incredible afternoon, a really great evening, and until next time, my friends. Bye, everyone.